Scott Wilkerson. You work for UST-MAMIYA shaft company, and I'm the global tour rep. So for the last, say, 8.5 years, I've been a fitter for our shafts. So I'll basically show up at tour events, wherever that event is, and I follow those all year. Both like British Open, Scottish Open, I do a couple events outside the country, most of them in the US, 40 to 42 events. Take my shafts to those events and try to get them into play into players' bags. So we do fittings with drivers, fairway woods, recoil iron is a shaft that we use quite a bit. So anything from iron fittings to putter fittings to wedge fittings to wood fittings. It's dependent on golf course weather, all those variables come into play. So this week, more of a lower flighted, lower spinning shot because being in Texas, right? The wind, the ground's firmer. So a lot of guys are trying to flatten out golf shots, fight the wind, and then get the maximum rollout. Basically, I call it almost like a short order cook, right? You take the order, we work with the player a little bit, try to find out what he's looking for that week, and again, it changes. Take the order, I take that back to the respective tour truck. It might be any OEM that we're working with each week. Place the order, write up the order, whether it's a driver, fairway wood, iron, putter, wedge, whatever, and I write up the order based on length, lie angle, flex of the shaft, weight of the shaft, those kind of things. And then they build it. I take it back to the player and we do testing, and then could be manipulated from there a little bit. Obviously heads are adjustable, so we do a little bit of that. But shaft-wise, we may decide it needs to be a touch shorter. Maybe it needs to be tipped up a little bit from the tip section to make it stiffer, or not tipped as much to make it softer. And then basically it ends up on the golf course being tested by the player. We weigh it heavily on launch monitors. And again, talking about how streamlined launch monitors have become. That is from GC Quad to GC3 to Mevo Plus. We use all those and get the technology that is following that golf ball till it's seeing spin, till it stops rolling, launch conditions, angle of attack with the golf club. So we're basically monitoring everything they do with the golf club too, because if they're doing something a little bit unusual, if it's a heavy attack angle down or up, then you have to adjust shaft flex and spin and launch to sort of combat those conditions too with just a golf swing. So it's become hugely important to have the launch monitor on site, looking at those numbers, all those data points, and then making some judgment calls based on those as well. So I do a report every week based on what we tested, how it performed, whether it was good or bad, or indifferent. So our company takes that and starts to look at our as a scenario, are our shafts too stiff? Are our shafts too soft? Are guys overspinning? Are guys underspinning? Are they giving feedback like, wow, that went okay, but it feels very firm? So we take all that data, feed that back to the company, and then they start to look at, hey, do we need to go a little softer in butt section to make it feel better? Do we need to go a little stiffer in tip section to make it more stable or more durable? So definitely that information we get goes straight back to the company each week, and they start to, because we're always developing like a year out, right? So our next product for the next year would be worked on and tested now on tour. So that's valuable information that they get each week. So I remember starting just under 20 years ago, and basically it was by visualize, right? You had to see it, and you started, I always say you were kind of a human TrackMan or a human GC Quad, because you had to look at launch and spin and figure that out based on just sight. Went through a lot of golf shafts, a lot of heads, because non-adjustable, not interchangeable. If you miss it a little bit, because also you start to talk about what the golf ball's doing, right? Some spin less, some spin more. And now with that data, that's how much it's changed. We can narrow it down to that golf ball spins too much, spins too little. The shaft is kicking too much, not kicking enough. So it's went crazy how much technology has changed the fitting process alone. So I see definitely off the rack golf clubs is going away, right? Because even the personal launch monitors, Mevo Plus is super accurate. GC Quad, GC3, super accurate. And now it's almost like they're becoming very affordable, right? That you can afford to buy that, and you start to look, at least interpreting the data, you almost need someone in the beginning to go, well, what's perfect? What's gonna help you, either lowering spin to help you hit it farther, or launching it higher and lowering spin to help you hit it further. And then there's always kind of a point of diminishing returns. Am I hitting up on it so much that I can't hit it straight anymore? Yeah, my angle of attack is way up with the driver. I'm hitting it high with low spin, but I'm also hitting it, I'm losing direction because I'm always too up or too far from the inside. So I think for the amateur golfer that's trying to get better, launch monitor is essential now. Yeah. So obviously started coaching college golf, 15 years ago, and I was doing the tour and coaching, and really such a bonus for my college team to have access to equipment and technology, and then me being on this side of it where I'm a fitter as well most of the time. So I basically fit all of my players. The first thing we did every year was go in, fit the golf gloves properly. We know we're ahead of the game a little bit that way. So that led to kind of the learning center that I work out of now. We also test every shaft that comes through UST. It comes to me. We do testing because I have access to great college players and good amateur players. Tour players, I've had them stop through on their way in Nashville, going somewhere else just to test while they're there. So that's become sort of it became a passion a long time ago, but now I'm getting to expand where I work with good junior players, good amateur players, both male and female. So that's given me a little bit of an outlet to do testing for UST shafts and to work on my fitting skills too. Yeah, well, again, the spectrum is from beginning golfers to tour players that's been through our fitting center. And I think, again, every little bit of experience has made me better for everybody. And when I started this project with the Learning Center, I think, again, I wanted the conditions to be as real as they could be for beginners to tour players coming through there. So using indoor golf, I got the mats that were so realistic, it feels like you're taking a divot. You're not having to step outside and beat up turf all the time. So the longevity of those things have been incredible. The impact screens, projectors, launch monitors, the whole package. I wanted it to feel like when you came into that facility that you're getting the best of the best, and you guys have provided that for me. A couple of situations have happened in past. So one player in particular that I remember, these guys are very, very superstitious. Some of them are. I've had requests for 1/8 inch more tipping in a shaft, right? So which does pretty much nothing. I've had build-ups on the grip of 1/8 of an inch. You name it, someone's always asked for the little bitty thing that really does not matter at all. Whether I took it back and could have done it or didn't do it, they probably would not have known the difference. But mentally, right, golfers and tour players especially, again, they think if they do it to the nth degree, they got the best chance of playing well. So lots of stories, I can't talk about names and stuff, but there's a lot of them where I'm going, they really just asked me to do that. Yeah. So yeah, tons of those stories. Last year, obviously coming out of COVID year and the schedule kind of got pushed together. They had some extra majors at the end of the year and that kind of stuff. I did roughly 45 weeks on the road, which again, I try not to think about it too much because you start talking about the hours that you're sitting on an airplane or waiting on an airplane or checking into a hotel or sleeping in a hotel. So the hours get almost crazy. It's like a lot of your life is being spent traveling. So that schedule is a little bit unusual. I usually do somewhere between 35 to 40, but with that COVID year, it sort of pushed a lot of events in there. And we used to have a little bit of break in the fall because they would do Zozo Cup was out of the country, HSBC was out of the country, and those events came to the US last year. So adding 4 or 5 events that are normally gone pushed me to that crazy schedule last year. The travel starts to bog you down a little bit, but I say I'm always in a pretty nice place. We chase the sun pretty much. The hotels are nice. It's not like I'm, having a rough time of it and roughing it, but just the relationships, I think. And then I'm the guy that goes home, watches it on TV on Saturday and Sunday. If my player's doing well, I get excited and I feel like, hey, you know what? I've helped him accomplish some of that. So, and that's bled down into the juniors and the people that I help, get fit and see them play better in their golf tournaments, even if it's a club championship or whatever, that they always kind of go, hey, you helped me get to where I was headed.